Good morning, and welcome to day 5 of our devotional study on the bait of Satan. So grateful that you all have been sticking with me through this process. And today, our topic is, how could this happen to me? How could this happen to me? And the scripture that we're meditating on comes from the book of Genesis, 50th chapter, 19th through the 20th verse. And Joseph said to them, "But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. For those who are following along with me in the book, we are reading chapter 3 now, and we're going to stop today at the subheading, Is God in Control? So we're going to read the first couple pages of chapter 3 and stop there. And the author reminds us that we had talked about that offended people come in 2 different categories, right? Those who actually have a real reason, a definable reason to be offended. And then there are those who believe that they do. And today we're going to be talking about those who actually have a reason to be offended. And it asks the question, it asks the question, if someone genuinely hurts you, do you have the right to be offended? It asks us to contemplate that. And on the surface, we would say, if you did something offensive to me, yeah, I should have a right to be offended. But again, we talked about being offended, feeling the offense, and then taking offense. And this is where the difference is. It says, do you become offended at that person because of the hurt? What's your normal response to offense? And then it gives us a list. And we're going to rank these things from 1 being our most likely response to 5 being our least likely response. Okay. So it says, when you are offended, do you get mad? Do you immediately forgive? That's number 2. Do you get even? Are you one who holds a grudge, right? Do you work hard at forgiving the person? Do you get away from the person? Are you the type to say, you know what, you got it, but don't come around me, okay? I'm done with you. Or is that you? Or do you seek to be reconciled? And as we're looking at, as they ask us to rank that 1 to 5, it says, if the negative responses above are the ones you rank the highest, then you actually feel like you have the right to be offended when somebody hurts you, right? So we're going to consider the story of Joseph, and it's talking about Joseph and how his brothers were jealous of him, and they were offended by him. And because of that, they basically kidnapped him, threw him in a pit, and then when some people came by, they sold him to be a slave. Now that seems like an extreme response. But, if we look around the world, we see some extreme responses to things. And then Joseph is now sold and living in Egypt. He's working for Potiphar. He serves him for 10 years, serves him faithfully, finds favor with the man, and then bang, the man's wife tries to seduce him, and he gets accused of rape and is tossed into prison again. So that's his story. So the question would be, did he have a right to be offended? And that's something we're going to be looking at. Did he have a right to be offended? And it asks us to look at that story, and that comes from Genesis 37 through 48, his story, and how he responded. And in that, it never tells us that he acted in offense. He didn't try and didn't try and get back at anybody, didn't plot to what was going to happen to his brothers if he ever saw them again. He didn't do any of that. And because of that, because of his being able to not take offense, yes, offensive things happened to him, not trying to diminish that at all. I'm sure it was painful. I'm sure he was in despair. It seemed like the more he did right, the more went wrong, right? But we don't see that he was ever tried to seek his own revenge or avenge himself in any of it. And because of that, he was able to be shown favor by God. The devotional says, if the devil could destroy us whenever he wanted to, he would have wiped us out a long time ago. Satan hopes we will take his bait of offense so that he will have a foothold into our lives to destroy both our relationships with God and our relationships with others. Don't take the bait, and Satan cannot touch you. I always teach my teams that Satan is so weak, he can't even come through a door unless you open it. He has to walk in open doors. He has to traffic in areas of your life that are darkness. So if we try and keep ourselves in the light, and we try and keep those doors to offense shut, then he doesn't have a foothold or a place to be able to step in and do these things to us. Our assignment for today is write a prayer, asking God for the wisdom of Joseph to avoid taking offense and to trust him instead of blaming others or circumstances for difficulties in life. This is a tough lesson today. How could this happen to me, right? This is a tough place. When I've been offended, you're telling me I don't have the right to be offended, to take offense? It works against what my flesh, what my natural man would say. All right. Thank you so much for being with me today. Let's work on that prayer. Let's work through these situations where we feel like we have a right to be offended and our response, and see where we are next week. We'll start again on Monday with day 6. And I appreciate you. Have a great day.